Amy. Welcome. We are making salt pretzels. Something kind of fun, something a little different. Go great with a beer cheese soup, or just something different to make with the kids. So we're going to start out by just making pretty much a basic yeast dough. What's fun about this recipe is we actually add beer to our pretzels. So they've got some really good flavor to them. We personally brew our own beer. So we're a little bit passionate about as far as getting beer and hops into our food. So to start out with, we've got some of our home brew here, which is an IPA that my husband made this time around. And then we also have some yeast and some salt. And you're just going to kind of whisk them together, dissolve that yeast a little bit, get the sugar into there as well. You could use any type of beer. You wouldn't have to use an IPA for this recipe. An IPA has got much stronger hop flavor, so it's a little bit more bitter, which therefore is going to give you a little more flavor at the end of it. All right, so once that yeast starts to dissolve, it's going to get a little bit creamier in color. And then we're going to go ahead and add some flour to that yeast mixture. And then also some salt. This can be just regular kosher salt, sea salt, or just table salt at this stage. And then I get in there with my hands. The best way to mix up dough is actually be able to feel it. So you can start to see it kind of clumping together. You could also do this in a mixer if you wanted. For me, I kind of take on the traditional way of making any type of dough, and I just do it by hand. And I'm just kneading it to the bottom of the bowl here. The thing about pretzels, they're really nice and crisp on the outside because of how dry the dough is. If you make the dough moister, as far as adding more water or more beer to it, you're going to get a really chewier pretzel. All right, so once it starts to come together here, you're going to wrap it in plastic wrap, and it needs to sit for about a half an hour or so. It's going to soften up, and it's going to be a lot easier to work with, because at this stage it's really tough, really dry, and the gluten's really kind of freaking out. But if it sits for a little bit, the gluten relaxes, and there's a lot more moisture to the dough. So you just knead it by hand for maybe a minute or two, not long at all. Wrap it on up. Put it just at room temperature for about a half an hour or so. And what it looks like once it's done sitting, it softens up. It's nice and firm still, but it has a little bit more moisture to it. And then what I do from there is I just break off whatever size pieces I'm looking for. The recipe will make about a dozen or so pretzels, depending on the size that you're looking for. So just kind of break it into even chunks, and then I just roll it on out. You want to make it as even as you possibly can, but it's a pretzel. It doesn't have to be perfect. And then I take it and I fold it around. Kind of tuck down the little tail lines there. You're going to want to put it onto parchment paper or a greased cookie sheet if you didn't have parchment paper. And just keep working on them. We'll do one more here so you can kind of see that style again. All right, so I take it and I just twist it around. Kind of tuck those little tails down in. And you've got yourself the perfect pretzel. What you do from there is you want to brush them with egg wash. That's going to give it that nice golden brown color to it. It also is going to allow the salt that we put on top of them to stick. And the thing about salt for these, you want to get a really nice coarse salt. So a nice sea salt works. You can even go to a kosher salt. If you want to go to a specialty food store, look for like a flavored salt. You could get a smoked sea salt on here. Something that's going to add another different element to your basic pretzel. So we've got our coarse kosher here. And the best part of a pretzel is going to be that salt on top, so be generous with your amounts that you put on. These bake in another hot oven, 400 degrees, and they only take about 15 minutes or so. And you want to bake them right away. You don't want to let them rise for any longer. When they come out of the oven, they puff out just a little bit, and you can see all the beautiful salts on there, the crispy outside. The inside's going to be really gooey yet and taste a little bit of beer and hops inside of there.